Yes, squad, and welcome to our next training session. One that I think has been eagerly awaited on this phrase that we all hear time and time again, that is self-sabotage. So how do I stop self-sabotaging? I did a poll on Instagram, did a poll on Facebook. I asked the question, how many people really find self-sabotage a really serious problem? And it was an overwhelming, there's another training on overwhelm, an overwhelming amount of people who struggle with self-sabotage. So my first tip here is we have to drop that title. Okay, it builds into the same theory as my anxiety, my depression, my bipolar, my PTSD, my chronic fatigue syndrome, my self-sabotage, my anxiety, overwhelm, all these things, imposter syndrome, that's another one that flies around all the time. So when we believe we have this thing, whether it's a personality trait or whether it's something that we believe that was ingrained in us, something that was born into us, much like many people still believe that people are either born confident or not confident, when in fact they're not. It's nothing to do with the way we are born. And again, no one was born with the condition of self-sabotaging every weekend. But again, we do this thing time and time and time again. And it is a cycle of self-sabotage. It might be substance abuse, it might be alcohol abuse, it might be food, it might be fear stopping you going through certain situations, it might be procrastination, it might be overwhelm. It can be any of these things. It can appear in many, many formats. It's not just getting drunk every weekend. However, that would, without a shadow of a doubt, be the most popular one. So people who generally say they self-sabotage will say, I'm good all week, I go to the gym every day, I eat really well, I track my food, and then the weekend comes and I'll just self-sabotage. That's the kind of the lower end weak version that I think people discuss and struggle with. Now, the next level up is, I think, where people suffer it when things are going really well. So again, this will be very relevant to fat loss, to fitness, to nutrition, when people will be like, they might have been good for 5, 6, 7 weeks and they get all this reward and they're feeling great and they've dropped loads of body fat and they're feeling good. People are noticing, they've been to the gym, they've stopped drinking, they're sleeping better, they're eating better, their energy's more on point. Everything in life is better, and then bang, they just decide to go and completely mess it all up. Again, people do this financially, in areas, they do it in all areas of life. They'll do something for a long, long, long time, build it up, and then just when they kind of almost like, I've made it, I've got there, I've done the work, I'm finally where I want to be, they'll suffer with this feeling of, I don't really feel like I deserve this. Or maybe it becomes a little bit too much hard work, and then they literally go and just destroy themselves for a full weekend, and then they name it self-sabotage. So as I said, stop using the phrase self-sabotage. I'm not a self-sabotager, but I have done it. Nor are you, but you have done it. We've all done it. So the big thing we have to do is drop the phrase. Why do we need to drop the phrase? Think about it. When we name ourselves something, what do? Okay, we give ourselves a way out, a justification. It prevents us taking responsibility because it's this thing we've always done. And that's when we're going back into the victim mindset. Like, we're in this car of life, but somebody else has the keys and somebody else is driving it. That's when we will use the self-sabotage phrase. It's almost a way of saying it wasn't really my fault. Now, we need to understand that self-sabotage is just a continued bad decision. It's a decision. It's a choice. That doesn't mean it's easy to overcome it. But the Greggs cheese pasty didn't just fly off the shelf into your mouth and down your throat and get washed down with a bottle of white wine because you're a self-sabotager. It happened because you made a decision. So we continually make bad decisions towards destructive behavior. That's what we're talking about, not a condition. Okay. And it's behavior and actions and and destructive behavior that lead us away from achieving our goals. It's not a condition, it's a decision. Take responsibility. Every single thing we do is a decision or a choice. If we want to try and argue that and say it's not, and it wasn't my fault, and it's just the way I am, and it's because of what happened when I was younger, and all this other stuff, I'm sorry if that triggers you, but it's not true. Likewise, I've made a million bad decisions in my life, but I have to understand they were decisions. No one forced me to do them. No one pinned me down and poured booze down my neck. And it didn't happen because of the past. No one pinned me down and made me eat 17 bags of mini cheddars on the trot. It wasn't because I have something. It was a choice and a decision. So when we talk about self-sabotage, it's like we're making it self-sabotage's fault. It makes us feel better, which is the whole reason that we did it in the first place. Why do we self-soothe with drinks? It makes us feel better. Drugs, gambling, sex, pornography, food. Why do we do it? Why do people get pissed every weekend? Because it makes them feel better. Why do people eat crap? Because it makes them feel better. Why do people place bets? Because it makes them feel better. Why do people cheat in relationships and watch pornography? Because it makes them feel better about the thing that they're not getting. Blocks it out, escapism. So if we believe that those things are just happening without us being in control, and you're not willing to say, actually, I'm hands up, I made that decision, then you really are screwed, because you're just that locked in a victim mindset that you believe everything just happens to you, not for you. You focus on things that you can't change, that you can't control. It's the same group of people. They believe everything is someone else's fault. Blame, complain, justification, playing the victim. And then when that happens, we feel like we're not in control of what happened, then we then fall into feeling helpless, feeling weak, playing the victim. It wasn't my fault. It was because of someone else. I had a lady say, well, it wasn't my fault. My friends made me drink red wine. No, they didn't. Get a grip. You're a 40-year-old woman. Nobody made you do anything. Everyone watching this now who's in their 40s and has had a bad weekend on red wine before is now thinking, is he talking about me? Probably about half of us, right? So we're cool. We're good. Not an individual person. So when we're in this victim mindset, we then fall into what's called learned hopelessness. Like we can't change it. We can't change the future. And that is not true. And I don't even think if you really believe that, you'd be watching this, because you'd just be that pathological procrastinator sat on the couch, eating Greggs, drinking wine, waiting for somebody to come and rescue them. Maybe just hoping that one day it will get better. So we are all warriors. We are in charge of our future. We are in charge of our destiny. Everything from the point on of you watching this video, we create. They are our decisions we're in charge of. The pen is in our hand and we can write an incredible story. So how do we start to overcome this? We need to ask better questions. It's that simple. And we're going to go through what questions that we could ask to steer the mind away from making bad decisions. Paul's taught me this over the last 4 years non-stop. You all know this. Everyone knows this. It's Tony Robbins' most famous quote: questions are the steering wheel of the mind. The quality of your life will come down to the quality of the questions that you ask. The quality of your results will come down to the quality of the questions that you ask. But we're asking this question to start with, aren't we? How do I stop making these bad decisions that keep making me partake in behavior that's taking me further away from my goals and essentially making me feel like shit? I'm making a decision that's making myself feel like shit. I'm making myself feel like shit with my decisions. Well, number one is that you may not have created a meaningful enough goal. Because if we're not really working towards something, we haven't got a vision or a dream, we haven't got something that's exciting. We've done this in previous weeks on goal setting. If we haven't got a thing that gets our juices flowing, then there's not really any reason not to make bad decisions, because it's not leading us further away from anything, because we're not moving towards anything. So if we haven't created the destination that we're moving towards, it doesn't really matter if we move backwards with bad decisions or self-sabotage, because we weren't going towards anything anyway. So if we've not got a vision, a purpose, a focus, a goal, a mission that we're moving towards, then of course we're going to make bad decisions. There's no reason not to. And if it's not that you haven't created it, then it might be that you've just forgotten it. So you do actually have a vision, a purpose, dreams, goals. And you did actually write them down. And you did actually complete the planner. But then life got busy and you forgot. You actually forgot your mission. I've done this many times, and I'm sure you have too. So you've gone back onto autopilot. We've gone back onto what's called sleeping awake. So the bad decision didn't really seem that bad, because I'm not moving towards anything. So what does it matter if I get drunk every weekend? I'm not moving towards my dream body. So what does it mean if I eat the Greg's cheese pasty? I don't know why I'm talking about Greg's cheese pasties. But it means that it won't seem that bad, because there's no real drawback. Just a quick payoff, because we weren't really focused on what we were moving towards. So it didn't matter. So we need more meaningful goals. They need emotional attachment. I don't think I've ever self-sabotaged. I have actually a couple of times, but very rarely, shall I say, have I self-sabotaged or made very bad decisions when I'm razor focused on what it is that I want. When I'm razor sharp focused on what I want in the business, not watching videos on YouTube, I don't tend to self-sabotage. When I'm razor focused on a photo shoot, a body goal, a marathon, or a physique goal that I'm really grafting on, moving towards, I don't really self-sabotage. When I'm really focused on my energy bit on point, because I've got really exciting stuff that I'm doing every day and I'm having an impact and helping people, I never really self-sabotage with alcohol, because I'm focused on what I'm doing. So how do we fix these things? As we said, we ask better questions. They are the steering wheel of the mind. And if you think of even that phrase, a steering wheel, well, if we want to stay on track, then we need to keep asking the questions so that the mind steers in the right direction. So we also have to understand, I hate this phrase, guys. I've heard a few people say it. It is what it is. No, it's not. It's what you made it. Whether it's a situation, a conversation, an action, it is what it is. No, it's not. It is what we made it. Now, what I urge you to do is just not accept your behavior for what it is. Yes, we need to let the past go. Yes, we need to focus on moving forward. Yes, we don't want to get bogged down, beating ourselves up on bad decisions, when we could focus on the wins and what we need to do to move forward. When we can not focus on what's happened and focus on what needs doing. But we have to still ask questions about what's happened. We can't just go, oh, well, never mind, it happened, I'll crack on. Because what will happen then? You'll do it again, because it will become your default. Every time X happens, you'll do X. And until you question why, rather than brushing it under the carpet and just going, oh, well, it is what it is, then you'll keep making the same mistake. So was it the fact that your underlying commitment was weak? What commitments have you actually made? What are your commitments towards your body, your relationships, your career, your finance, your focus, your fitness, your role as a parent, if you're a parent, in your business? What commitments have you made? Have you written them down? Are you reminding yourself of them daily? Because if not, what will happen? You'll go into the drift. What happens when we go into the drift? We go into autopilot. What happens when we go into autopilot? We get bored. What happens when we're bored? We make bad decisions, because there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to veer off down that path to Greg's, or veer off down that path to Mitchell's Wines, or veer off down that path to your dealer, the bookies, or your bit on the side, because we weren't focused on where we were going in the first place. So there was no reason not to. because we hadn't made a firm commitment towards what it is we want. This is why so many people fail, because they make weak commitments. This is why so many people won't join Unbreakable 90, because they know they're not going to get an easy ride with me. And they know when they finally sign up and they transfer the money and they make that commitment and they fill out the client questionnaire, that the bullshit has to drop. So they'd rather not make the commitment, because when they make the commitment, they have to stop it with a story. So did I make a firm enough commitment? Ask yourself that question. Or have I forgotten it? Do I know what I want? Do I need to go back and really commit to what I want? Was it meaningful enough? Is there emotion attached to it? Because if the answer is no to any of those questions, then it's not difficult to see why you keep veering off down that path, because you didn't have something you were meaningfully moving towards in that direction. So go in that direction was neither here nor there. So we get back on track by asking these better questions. But also, I want you to take this home as well. Let's reframe this a little bit, because none of us are perfect. So rather than how do I stop self-sabotaging? How do I stop making bad decisions? How do I stop making mistakes? Let's change it to less. How do I make less mistakes? How do I cheat on my diet less? How do I drink less? How do I make less bad decisions? How do I make less mistakes? Not how do I stop making mistakes altogether? So this is crucial. You guys have heard me say this so many times before. Almost certainly when you make bad decisions, it's because it's based on your mood. It's based on your feelings. My number one tip is you have to stop making decisions based on how you're feeling. If you are making decisions based on your mood, cover your kids' ears, you are fucked. Because however you feel, when you feel tired, you'll eat crap. When you feel tired, you'll have some booze. When you feel stressed, you'll open a bottle of wine. When you feel tired, you won't go to the gym. When you feel angry, you'll react and have an argument. And all your decisions will be based on how you're feeling and your mood. Now, you again have heard me say this before, guys. It's in the planner, isn't it? What doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. So again, my schedule dictates my actions and my decisions, not my mood. If I leave it down to how I'm feeling at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning as to whether I go to the gym or not, when you're watching this, do you think I'm going to go? No, because it would be based on my mood. Low energy, tired, recovering from being ill. Of course, I'm not going to go. So it has to be based on the schedule. And my plan dictates my actions, not my mood, not my feelings. And if we don't have a plan, because we haven't completed the planner, then it's not difficult to see why we keep making those decisions, because we didn't remind ourselves of the direction where we were going. We forgot our mission. We forgot our purpose. We forgot why it is we said we want to get in shape. We forgot why it is we said we wanted to stop drinking. We forgot about the detrimental habits it's having on us, effects. So then if there's no plan, we've got nothing to follow. If we've got nothing to follow, we'll go back to our default mode, which is the same behavior that we've always done that gets the same outcomes, the same results. You know this. If you always do what you've always done, then you always get what you've always gotten. That is where we will go to. If we don't have a plan to retrain the mind where we want to go, we'll go where we've always gone. And when we go where we've always gone, we'll always do what we've always done. And the reason you joined this plan was to stop doing what you've always done. So next time you're about to make a bad decision, what questions can you ask? And rather than always doing what you've always done, what questions can snap you out of making that decision? But before we come on to asking these questions, we have to make sure we have a vision. We have to make sure the vision has meaning. We have to make sure we have a plan to achieve it. And then we have the peer group and accountability, which you have within this group. But we have to make sure the vision and the meaning is right first. And then we have to remind ourselves every day, because if not, think about it. Think about the last time you self-sabotage with food. Where were you? How were you feeling? Low energy mood. So you made a decision based on your feelings. Were you thinking about how you were going to look in your bikini? No, you'd forgotten. Were you thinking about the health issues that you need to create? No. Were you thinking about the confidence that you're trying to work on and solve? No, because you'd forgotten. So better questions will equal better decisions, but no questions will always equal bad decisions. Now, think of an area of your life that you're not achieving results in. Think of the area where this week you've let yourself down, where it's all gone wrong, where it keeps going wrong. Think of the area on your check-in where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm writing this again. I better sound like a broken record, because you've made the same negative decision again. Think about that area, and I guarantee it's the area where you keep making the same decisions. The area that you're not getting results in will be the area that you keep making the bad decision in. So if it's food that's your issue, I guarantee all your bad decisions are in food. And it's most likely that you've made that same decision 100 times, 1,000 times, even 10,000 times. Because when we sway away from the plan, because we're not asking better questions, we go down that road again into our default place, and we've forgotten about the destination, and we didn't give it any meaning, and we're back doing what we've always done. So the questions and the decisions will always be related. And if we can get in with these questions first before we make the decisions, that will be enough to steer the mind back towards where it is we said we wanted to go. So we have to have an outcome. We have to have a goal. We have to know what we're motivated towards. But when do we need to ask these questions? So how do we stop ourselves? Well, we have to have a stronger awareness. So I wouldn't wait until I'm about to eat the Greggs and it's in my hand to go, oh yeah, what would be a great question I could ask myself now to stop me eating this Greggs cheese pasty? Too late. So when would be a good time to ask ourselves these questions that we're going to go through? Every morning, every night, every lunchtime, every hour? The answer is as many times as you physically can in one day. Some of the questions are within the plan. But every day we have the opportunity to make better decisions that support our goals, not lead us away from us. And that's the number one question that I want you to write down. Number one, will the decision I'm about to make about my day and my actions lead me towards my goals or keep me stuck in the past? So we sat there thinking about a decision, whether I should track my food or not, whether I should have a pizza on Saturday, whether I should drink at Auntie Karen's birthday on Friday night, whether I should have the awkward conversation with my boss or my partner. Will the decision I'm about to make, not go into the gym, lead me closer towards my goals or further away from my goals? And if it's going to lead yourself further away, why are you making that decision? It must be that your goal was weak and you're not committed and it's not important to you. If so, then we need to go and reset the goals and the visions. Because as long as you've got goals that are weak and you're not committed to, doesn't matter what questions you ask, you're always going to make bad decisions. Number two, is this decision going to give me a long-term reward or a short-term fix? Is the cheese pasty going to give me long-term reward towards my goals, or is it going to give me a cheap fix? Is the bottle of wine really going to help the stressful situation, or is it just going to paper over it for a couple of hours? Number three, will this decision lead me away from pain or create more? Number four, will it empower or disempower me? Or you could reframe that. Is this decision going to make me feel strong, or is it going to make me feel weak? Is it going to make me feel like a warrior, or is it going to make me feel like a wimp? Is this decision based on fear or courage? And finally, does this decision, are my decisions fitting in with what I said I want when I started out on this plan? Those are the types of questions that we need to be asking before decisions. So very often, many of you have said this, and it's almost like sometimes I've said this as well. It's almost like you're looking for permission. I'm thinking about doing this. Do you think it would be okay? You shouldn't ever be asking that question. What you're trying to do is push the responsibility onto someone else. You're looking, you know damn well that it's not going to be a good decision, but you're thinking, maybe if I just ask someone else, they'll say, oh yeah, that'll be fine. Don't worry. Only one weekend, just get smashed. When you know it's going to cause you pain, you know it's going to lead you further away from your goals. You know it's going to make you feel uncommitted and like you've not got any integrity. Very often it's subconscious as well, isn't it? Like our decisions baffle us sometimes. Other people do. Yeah, I really want to lose weight, but then we're like nose deep in pizza. I really want to feel better, but I keep getting drunk every weekend. I really want to work for myself, but I just stay in the same job. I really need to leave this unhappy relationship, but I've not even had that conversation. I keep saying I'm too busy, but I'm always on Facebook. So the actual decisions that we make are the polar opposite of what we say we want. But that will be because we've been conditioned to always do the thing that we've always done. That's why we are. You know, if you've always eaten Greg's cheese pasties every time you got stressed, then that's why you're fat. But if you've done that for 20 years, if you've had a glass of wine every time you get stressed for 20 years, you're not going to change that overnight. But you have to create more meaning and more vision towards the outcome of not doing it. That gives you a bigger payoff than the short-term fix of just doing it. You know, are you committed to your dream body, or are you committed to making excuses? Are you committed to being a role model to your kids, or are you just going to keep doing the same things? Are you committed to building muscle, or are you just going to stop going to the gym every time it gets tired? Are you committed to the future, the dreams and the goals and the visions that you said that you want? Or would you rather live the rest of your life staying exactly where you are, making the same decisions that lead to the same outcomes, that lead to the same results? Or is it time for new decisions, new questions, new experiences, new results, and constant action towards the dreams, visions, goals, and futures that you joined up on this plan to achieve? Guys, I love you all. Have an awesome Monday. I'll see you next week.